I built a big business, burnt it down because it was completely misaligned. The clients that I had were not my people. A lot of society, a lot of entrepreneurs are feeling the frustration, overwhelming exhaustion, burnout. It's not normal. When you're feeling that, you're going against your design somewhere.
You're involved in human design, but you're using human design to help people build a better life, more functional, more purposeful.
It's called the science of differentiation. It's a chart that is comprised of your birth information, so the birth time, birthplace, and birth date. You were born in exactly 3 months prior to that. It's very accurate. We have the energy type, and then we have authority, which helps us know how we're meant to make decisions.
But who originally coded those inputs for those outputs?
Ra Uru is creator of human design.
And it's based off of what, though?
He's the manifester. He had the vision to create it.
I know, but what's the source code for it?
Vedic philosophy, there's some genetic stuff in there.
So it acts kind of like a North Star.
Yeah, it really does. And the more you can lean into that and learn about it, the more free you feel to do the things you're meant to do in the way you're meant to do them.
If you're new here, welcome. I'm excited that you joined us. Every single week, I get to sit down with CEOs, leaders, founders, builders who are doing something really fantastic on the planet. They're building a business that's making a difference in other people's lives. And I get the opportunity to sit down and chat with them and learn how they're doing it, the lessons, the failures, the opportunities, and they're going to leave you and me every single week with some nugget, mini nuggets actually, that you can integrate, implement into your business to do the same thing. So I'm glad you're here. Sit back, let's get into it.
I want to set a little context before we jump into the show, because this show is really about perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the people that I invite onto the show have a unique perspective and a unique lens on how they run their business and how they run their life. And if you've listened to anything about my show or watched or studied anything about what I have to say, is that our lives are a direct intersection of how we show up personally, and that undeniably will always lead into how we show up professionally, right? And so a lot of people who listen to this show they're entrepreneurs, to answer your question. They're very thoughtful, they're very capable, they're very high achieving people. They care about growth and they care about doing things really well. And at some point, many of them start asking a lot of quieter questions, which is how I got into this business in the first place, which is not necessarily centered around how do I do more, but how do I do this in a way that actually feels like me, so that they're in alignment, so there's coherence, so that their identity is not, it's not cloudy, right? I find a lot of people that I work with, they come here and they have these really cool ideas, but they're just really cloudy on how to get there, right? And so when I read your intake form, thank you, by the way, for taking the time to fill that out. I know it's really long. We're working on it. But
I feel like that's the best way to go about it, though, because you don't know unless you know.
I want to make sure you've got value to add before I bring you on the show. And we spend a lot of time producing and curating it. So I just want to make sure that my guests are going to respect my audience's needs. So that's kind of why I do that. But anyhow, what stood out about you to me was how you think about leadership. You have some really interesting things to say about that. Identity and alignment, which are sort of my core zones that I really love talking about. And so I'm curious, when you think about this current version of Stefanie and compared to when you first started building your business, what do you think is the most different about you today as it was yesterday?
I know who I am. I know who I am and how I'm meant to lead, and I actually lead my people differently. I don't lead them the same like I did in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, right? I helped people build businesses in the exact same way and did 95% of them a huge disservice, because I didn't know myself. I was following all the gurus, the tips, the tricks, the things you see online, and I lost myself in that. And while I lost myself, I lost how to lead, and I was clouded in it. I woke up finally one day and realized what was going on, and when I found my human design. But yeah, I think leadership, if you can't lead yourself first, then you're not going to be able to do what you can do for a team or clients or people that you're helping. You will just you will continually spin in the cycle of just the sameness is really what's happening.
Mm-hmm. That sameness, that cycle, spinning the cycle, those loops. It's interesting if we're not paying attention to our life, if we're not paying attention to our patterns. I'm really big on pattern recognition. We do get sort of stuck in these endless cycles of just sort of vapid existence, karmic loops, maybe trauma loops. Like there's a whole bunch of different ways we can get stuck in them. I was in a trauma loop for a long time in a relationship, and I wasn't aware of it for almost a year. It took me almost a year to kind of figure that out. And that's not, I won't go into that rabbit hole, but it is sort of interesting because we get on this trajectory, right? We're doing the things, we're habituating, we're being consistent, but in the process, like the double-edged sword of that is that when we're habituating and being consistent about things, we can also sort of get stuck on that treadmill like
Mm,
indefinitely if we're not paying attention to things.
yeah.
I see you nodding your head, so I know you agree. Before you answer or say anything about that, you opened with, I know who I am now. That's the difference between yesterday and today. What exactly does that mean to you? I know who I am. Because I mean, that's a bit existential, but what does that actually mean to you?
So, growing up, I deep down knew who I was. And I believe that we all know when we're born, when we're little, who we are. And we slowly forget with
Mhm.
conditioning. And this is how the trajectory you need to take. You need to go to school, you need to get the college degree, you need to get the job, you need to have the kids, you need to work till you die, essentially. And so I fell into that. And within that, I feel like most of society has lost themselves. They don't know who they really are. They don't underneath the conditioning. And when so that's what I had done. I had fallen into the conditioning of the norm, gotten a corporate job, realized I needed to get out of there when my dad was diagnosed, and then I ended up in the conditioning of the business world where I followed every tip, trick out there, lost myself in the process, and until I learned human design and really saw how I meant to lead, work, sell, market, make money, and the fears that are hidden in the background that are running the show, I was just on the autopilot of this is how you do it. It like X, Y. I mean, just an example of like the consistency loop you're talking about. I mean, the 5 steps to have a powerful morning routine, right? I mean, that's not, you lose yourself in that type of stuff because you try to be like other people. You think if this is how they were successful, this is how I'm going to be successful. And your design shows you that it's not. You're not going to find success the same way someone else did. And so when I started to understand and learn myself, I realized the conditioning that was just had overtaken my entire life, really.
What is so neuroscience shows us that habituation and being consistent and having daily habits, we know that has value. But what's that fine line between the value add that having those morning habits or those rituals or those consistencies? What's that fine line between doing those things for purpose and for profit? And I don't mean financially, but purpose and profit for growth and evolution. What's the fine line between that and just becoming sort of complacent in the habit itself? So you're
Mhm.
just doing it out of routine rather than doing it out of meaning and depth.
Yeah, and I think it does it really does go into your human design too because we are all meant to show up differently. We're all meant to consistency looks different to every single design.
Hmm.
And when people realize that and they get out of the hustle and grind of, let's say, a generator who is very step-by-step process, they do really thrive. They have the energy to do it all. And when we get out of that never-ending hamster wheel and really find the joy and the purpose and the meaning in routines for us and how we're designed to actually do them. I mean, some people are meant to show up in a specific way with exercise and show up in a specific way in their business. And some people have these these initiating surges where they can do things for a couple weeks and they need to kind of retreat and take a break. So if you don't realize that about yourself, you're going to end up like it's almost like a numbing, like you just do it because you're doing it and it's not really providing a benefit to you. I mean, it is in the long, but you know what I mean? It's not providing this uplifting benefit to you.
So how does one have self-awareness around that? How do you sort of do a gut check? And I really think that's really what's required from my point of view is that you're constantly checking in with yourself to sort of see, am I just in a pattern here of just doing this to do this, or am I actually doing this with meaning and depth and sort of like real purpose behind it? Because I speaking from experience, there are some mornings where I sort of get up and I'm always harking back to that Dunkin' Donuts commercial. I think I'm a bit older than you, so you may not remember, but that old man is like 4 in the morning. He wakes up, he's like, time to make the donuts, and like rolls out of bed and like he just habitually goes through the steps. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I find myself in the midst of writing or journaling, and I'm just like, it's like one of those moments when you're driving down the road and suddenly you've driven 15 miles, you didn't even know it. Have you ever had those moments where you're just
Yeah.
like
Yeah. You're like, well,
driving?
shit, how did I get
Whoa,
here?
how the hell did I get here? I
Yeah.
find myself in that space some mornings where I'm doing my routine, but I'm not actually involved in the routine. I'm not actually paying. I'm just sort of like going through the motions type of thing. So
Yeah.
what are some ways that we can be self-aware around that?
The hamster wheel. So one thing that I really like to help my clients do at the beginning of our journey together is go through every part of their business. What part lights you up and what part do you do just because you're supposed to do it, but you actually hate it, or it actually has no meaning to you as far as bringing you the joy and the purpose and all of that, right? And so I think it's really important to look at your routines and see what is it in them that is you're kind of just for instance, let me just give you an example. I tried the routine of like manifesting, manifestation, meditating, journaling every morning, that type of stuff. And I did. I would do it, but it was just like a check off. It was like a
Mm,
check off the box. And now that I know my design, I'm a manifesting generator. Doing the same thing like that every day is literally soul sucking for me, and I don't even realize it. But I'm doing it because we are told to do it. That's what's going to make us successful. But
mhm.
until you learn to turn off the noise of everybody else and find your own successful in your day, then you won't get the results because you're going to you're unknowingly blocking your magnetism because you are not trusting that your design and the way you're meant to do things. And you'll just be on it's the hamster wheel, right? It's not I'm not super happy, I'm not sad, but I'm just like I'm here. And that's not how we're supposed to live life. We are here on this earth to live a purpose, a meaningful life, that one that brings us excitement and joy every day. And when we get stuck in the mundane, which a lot of us do, it's kind of like we look back a year, geez, where did that year go? And don't
Mhm.
really have any purpose in it, you know?
I do know. I think that's well said. What exactly do you do? So, just so that my listeners have a better understanding. So, you're involved in human design, but you're using human design to help people build a better life, more functional, more purposeful. So, I see some intersection for some of the stuff that I'm doing on the branding strategy side, but tell me real quickly what you do.
So when I started out with human design, I helped people with relationships and parenting and all the things because I believe as to lead ourselves, we have to, yes, know ourselves first and then know the people around us. I think that's really beneficial. But my main thing now is helping entrepreneurs infuse their design into their business. So then their marketing, in their strategies, in their offers, because we have a specific piece of humanity that we're here to help, and our design shows us that. And so we're supposed to market, use our voice a different way. So I really help them infuse their design. And so it's perfect for me because as a manifesting generator, none of my clients' journeys look the same.
Uh,
And that's how I thrive.
So, human design, just if you can, because there are some people who are not familiar with the concept, and I did have a guest on here, maybe about 5 or 6 episodes ago, who does human design. But could you just sort of paraphrase what that is?
Yeah. So human design is a chart. It's called the science of differentiation, and it's a chart that is comprised of your birth information, so the birth time, birthplace, and birth date. You were born in exactly 3 months prior to that. And it brings this beautiful chart that nobody knows what the heck it means. Most people get their chart and kind of just put it on the shelf. But it's one of those things where I thought it was out there. I thought it was too fluff. I actually thought it was maybe another Enneagram strengths finders. Those never resonated with me very well. So it took me a while to pick it up and actually read it. And it actually is basically your map to your highest potential. And when people ask me, this seems out there, I say, well, just give it a try. I've had 2,500 people get their chart with me, and not only one has come back and said that they didn't feel like it was them, and we found out their birth time was wrong. So it's very accurate, and it really is kind of your map back to you, is what I say. It's really the way you're supposed to show up, or you're meant to show up, you're designed to show up. It really sheds a light on the box you put yourself in unknowingly and really helps you feel alive at the end of the day. I mean,
You
there's so
said
many nuances in it, but.
you said it's a design to help you map to your highest potential.
Mhm.
So how So I've taken human design quizzes before. I've never actually had human design work done on me.
Mhm.
Can you kind of explain a little bit more of the science behind it, more pragmatically, less spiritually, like how it actually functions and
Yeah.
how it's able to map to our highest potential?
Yeah. So let me just give you some examples of what's inside your human design. So there is something, your energy type is typically what people know about their design. If you ask somebody, what is your human design? Most people know I'm a projector, I'm a manifesting generator, manifestor, generator, reflector. Okay. So that's the highest level of your design. That really tells you what your energy is like. Projectors are not an energy being, so they are not meant to design to work more than 2 to 4 hours at a time on something more efficiently than other people. So corporate life for them is very, very hard. And all my corporate or all my projector clients have could not survive in corporate. Like they just couldn't thrive there. And so they're not energy beings. We have the manifesting generators who we have the energy, we pivot fast, we have a lot of different thoughts and ideas, and we're not the linear path like a generator. And then we have the reflectors who are really here to reflect back what the health of the environment. Their environment is key to them. If they're not in the right environment, they will not thrive the way they're meant to. Then we have the manifestors who are here to initiate new things, initiate new processes, ideas, thoughts. The person who created or who brought human design to life was a manifester. And they're here for bursts of energy and then they need to retreat. And so that's just a little bit about your energy type. And when I help corporate teams too, it's important for them to know that about themselves so they can see, oh, she will thrive better over here, or we can put her in.
Can I pause you for a second? Because I want to go one layer before your explanation of the outputs.
Mhm.
So how are the outputs optically coded to deliver those different types of people in the first place? Because the questions I've seen are pretty binary, like they're pretty anomalous. So I guess, how is that coded? So let me reframe it. We have a diagnostic that we do for our clients, and that diagnostic is a one-to-one cause and effect. You answer a question, there's an effect to how you answer the question. But how is a human design tied to a human's mapped potential? Like, what are the questions that are coding the output so that you can have the derivative of being one of those 4 or 5 different types?
So this is where it gets kind of the more woo woo, right? The more out there. It's written in your DNA. It's a chart that is created by birth. You don't answer questions. The questions that are answered, for instance, on Enneagram, Strengths Finders, Myers-Briggs, those are all answered from a conditioned mind that have been through upbringing, trauma, societal conditioning, whatever it might be. Are they really accurate? And this is the first time that I've read something that is really like, holy crap, this is actually me and how I've always been designed to move through the world and interact with people, but I've never been taught it, right? And so it's going back to we have the energy type, and then we have something that is called our authority, which helps us know how we're meant to make decisions.
But who originally coded those outputs, those inputs for those outputs?
So Ra Uruhu he is the creator of human design.
And it's based off of what though?
It's it's based off of he's a manifester, so he had the vision to create it, and then he created it.
I know, but what's the source code for it?
Well,
Is it astrological? Is
so
it
like
based
so
off of
like
star
so yeah,
formations?
I Ching, Vedic philosophy. There's some genetic stuff in there. There's five different ancient modalities. So yeah, a lot of different stuff.
So he interpreted all these different ancient modalities, which are again, are these astrologic? They're Vedic.
Yes,
So
it all goes into it.
he's taken all of those and then he's interpolated those inputs for a corollary output.
Right.
So it could be subjective to his discretionary interpretation.
I mean, you believe what you believe, right? It's one of those things that you have to honestly dive into it and see what it actually says about you and watch that part of you come to life. That's what happened to me because I didn't really believe in it at first, but I believe in all that stuff. So,
Well, I'm not questioning it. I've actually seen it and I find it to be of great interest and value. But
mhm.
as with everything, I always like to break it down and sort of understand what's the source code behind it. So when I read about it, sort of these things like you talked about the I Ching and you said something else that I had not heard of before. What'd you call it?
Um, the Vedic philosophy.
Yeah, Vedic philosophy. Sorry. Yeah, I was doing some reading about it in sort of the 64 hexagrams. There is astrology assigned to
Yeah,
it.
astrology's in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Then there was something else that I was reading about. Oh, the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah was
Oh,
in it.
yeah. Mhm.
The chakras are in it. That's a lot of information. So again, I'm just for my listeners and for my understanding, I was just trying to understand the interpolation of the input to the output,
Mhm.
how that sort of manifests itself, and how it's more accurate. So yeah, I won't dive into that any deeper.
No, that's fine.
In terms of using human design, what's the connection between the highest potential and how we actually show up or not show up in our professional lives and our personal life? Like what's that? What's the okay? So I do a human design reading with you,
Mhm.
and I'm assigned a quadrant or a reading, and then does that allow me to sort of step into something based upon knowing that, or is that sort of giving me an assessment of where I'm not living up to my fullest potential?
I mean, both, because it helps, like I said, it sheds a light on all the box you put yourself in, the things that you're doing that are not aligned to you. And that's why you're feeling the overwhelm, the frustration, the exhaustion. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of society, a lot of entrepreneurs are feeling the frustration, overwhelm, exhaustion, burnout, and it's not normal. So when you're feeling that, something you're going against your design somewhere. And so it doesn't put you in this box over here like you have to do this, right? It really just opens up to the door to this is how you're actually designed and can thrive better. And the more you follow that, the more things open up. So,
So it's like a rubric it's like a rubric of my potential.
mhm.
Interesting.
So there's a each part of your design has a gift side where you're living in it, and there's a shadow side, right? So, for instance, a projector who thrives on taking the time alone and resting and only working 2 to 4 hours at a time on something, you have her over here, but then you have also have her thinking of the conditioning of I need to hustle and grind, and that's what I'm doing because that's what society says.
Mm.
And so it's just understanding you versus what we're taught we're supposed to do and the way we're supposed to show up.
You said you said it was the first sort of tool that you had used. You talked about Enneagrams and some other things that really resonated with you. What
Mhm.
was it that convinced you that this was more than just an interesting framework, but something that could be practically useful?
So, first of all, when I learned I was a manifesting generator, it made so much sense because I've always been one that has lots of different interests, and I would do something and I'd quit it because I didn't love it anymore, and then I would go over here and I always felt flaky. I always felt like there was something wrong with me in that. I would pivot, fast moving. Like I just had all these ideas, and that's my manifesting generator energy. But then I read my core four, which is my life's work, and it said that I was meant to build something really big, burn it down, and build with what actually works
Hmm.
and help other people skip the steps. And that's literally what I'm doing right now. I built a big business, burnt it down because it was completely misaligned, and the clients that I had were not my people. And now I'm building with what actually works. So I think every little piece of what I've found, I meant to trial and error and fail forward more than the majority of people. And that's what I've done my entire life.
Hmm.
And so just those little pieces got me interested enough to continue reading. And now I'm more me than I've ever been. And it just feels really, really good. And the results of your life happen because you are living the way you're designed to versus the the conditioned way. It just is it's interesting.
So it acts kind of like a North Star.
Yeah, it really does.
For someone who's listening who thinks, wow, I really know myself pretty well, where do you think human design could surprise people most?
Ooh. Um, I think in if there's something called your authority, which is your decision making process, and that in itself is very, very helpful to my clients and anybody that I've come across because you're meant to make decisions in different ways. So I always say if the leaders of the world knew they had an emotional authority, the world would be a different place. So if you have an emotional authority, it means that you're meant to, if you have an idea come to you or someone says something and you have to say yes or no, you're meant to wait for the emotional wave to end and you kind of neutralize before you answer that. Otherwise, you end up regretting it. Okay, so there's that one. And then you have the sacral authority that knows instantly right away, like yes or no gut feeling before you let your mind take over. We make decisions from our mind all the time, from what other people think, what overthinking things, rationalizing things. And when you learn to interact with that part of you, your decisions become so clear and profound. You don't, nothing else out here matters. So that's a big piece that a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I am not making decisions the way I should.
Interesting. You you haven't actually come out and say it, but I sort of hear between the lines that a lot of people would lump human design in with personality tests. You mentioned Enneagram as one of them. From your perspective, what's the practical difference in how someone uses the information from human design versus Enneagram or anything else out there?
So I think human design is more of, I mean, there's so many nuances to it. I'm still learning about it and I've been studying it for a long time. There's there's so many more nuances and it's so unique to you that it doesn't put you in this lump of with other people, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. It doesn't put you in this specific category of personality where you have these graphics floating around of this is how you are, this is how it is so nuanced and so different that you aren't like anybody else. I'm not like anybody in my household, and it's really cool to understand that. Um, so I think that is, you know, you have the people who have the Instagram pages of Enneagram 9 and that's really all they talk about. But there's so many more nuances to human design. Uh, there's your personality, your unconscious, your conscious side, and it goes a lot deeper.
If all things were equal, you and I were born in the same town, same birth date, same time, same hospital, what's going to be the differences in our human design reading based upon those?
Probably the biggest one difference would be your Chiron return. So when you turn 50, because you add superpowers and things you're meant to learn, but everything else would be pretty, I mean, very identical, except for maybe specific energetic. Because when you look at your chart, you have 9 energy centers, and some are colored in, some aren't. When they're colored in, it means that you have it with that energy center within you and you have access to it at all times. When it's not colored in, you need to be around other people to bring that part of you out. And that's what you're here to gain wisdom from
Hmm.
on this earth. And that's actually what people will pay you for. So there's so many nuances, but I think the Chiron return is gonna, you know, would be the biggest difference.
So I guess the thing that's popping up in my mind, and maybe this is an irrelevant question, human design almost sounds like it's a fixed outcome. So what's the difference between having autonomy to live my life, learn who I am, do the things I want to do, but then following a matrix that is prescribed and perhaps predetermined from a human design reading?
Yeah. So that's the interesting part because this is my thought process behind it and everybody that I talk to, we were born with this chart. This is the way we were designed to be. And the more you can lean into that and learn about it, the more free you feel to do the things you're meant to do in the way you're meant to do them. So if that makes sense. So we come in and we conditioned with all this way of doing things and you need to take this normal trajectory and if you don't, you're not successful at whatever, XYZ. Then we get this chart and it's like it frees us. It frees us and you really feel like you can make the choices you're meant to make. You can do things differently than everybody else. So it doesn't put you in a box. It shows you how individual you are, which is what we're here as human beings. We're not here to be the same, but so many of us have fallen into the same patterns. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it doesn't really, it's not like conditioning you into something because it's you already. And you start to understand that as you read it.
Yeah, maybe I am misunderstanding it. So it's a GPS coordinate to get somewhere, but there can also be an infinite number of ways to get to those same GPS coordinates. You could just go a different route. Is that sort of what you're saying?
Right. I mean, you could go, so there's an infinite amount of ways to build a business, right?
Hmm.
So you can get there by doing it misaligned, but it's not going to feel good.
Hmm.
Or you can get there by doing it aligned and it's a more joyous, fulfilling process.
Got it. And human design is what enables you to get more aligned, in your
Right.
words. Do you think that there are any limitations to this or where it's being misused or misunderstood, especially in the practicality of how you're applying it to business?
Yeah, I think some people use it as an excuse, you know, because in business especially we still have to do the work. We still have to show up and do the things. It's just the way we're doing them and the different avenues we take to get there. But for instance, you have the I keep bringing the projectors up. They have the hardest time with conditioning, but you think of projectors and they're like, "Oh, I'm a projector. I'm not meant to work. I'm just gonna lean back and rest all day,
Hmm.
and things are gonna come to me." So I think it's th little things like that, but it gets so nuanced that you get so empowered that you keep going moving forward.
Hmm.
So just little things like that.
How do you, I'm curious, this is the question because I utilize a lot of different practices as well, methodologies in my work. How do you envision or how do you see human design working alongside coaching, leadership development, emotional EQ work, personal growth, some of the other stuff? Do you see it as a good integrator or do you see it as a standalone model?
Oh, I think it's an integrator. I think it's every single leader, every coach, every person needs to know and take what feels good and leave the rest, but most of it's going to resonate with you and help you understand why, again, going back to leadership roles, when I've worked with teams, when the leader knows herself and how she's designed to lead and guide and show up, and then she knows all of her people, like that is game changing.
Mm,
We work with people the same way. We have the same trajectory for them. We have the same tasks for them, and 99% of the people aren't meant to do it that way. So, yeah, I think it all goes together.
So when you have engagements with clients, and who is your ideal client? Who are you ideally working with?
Yeah, I work with entrepreneurs who typically it's people who are wanting to transition from corporate to entrepreneurship, but doing it the right way. The other way doesn't feel good to them, where it's hustle, grind, show up on social media every day and um, do those specific things.
Mhm.
It's they want to feel good about it. And the clarity too. That's one thing a lot of my clients, they don't have clarity in what they want to do, and human design will guide you to that um, because because of all the things it teaches you
Yeah.
about yourself.
So what does an engagement look like? So what's the duration? Is there a program that's involved? Is it I get the reading and then you hand it off and you walk away, or is there integration and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
How does one work with you?
Yeah. So I have most of the time people start with my 12-week coaching program, which is really it's one-on-one right now. I'm about to flip over to group just because of the amount of time that I have and the clients that I have. But we start out by just getting their chart and I go through the main pieces of their chart with them so they can start to really see where they have been living against their design. Every single time it's aha moment, tears, holy crap. No, this is why I've been feeling overwhelmed and frustrated and exhausted. And then we take the pieces that and put it into their business and really get to see their business flourish and grow finally because they've been again fighting it. And it's really, really cool. Our voice is meant to be heard in specific ways. And so when I teach them how that is meant to be heard, it's cool to watch them actually put that into practice and and see results from it. Because what happens when we are copying other people in business or losing ourselves in it by just the grind and the checklist, we're blocking our success unknowingly. And so, yeah, we end up, every single client ends up walking away with a completely different business, like business model, business, whatever you want to call it, than the next person, which is why I love what I do.
That's great. If someone listening to this episode and they hear you talking about human design and they're like, "Oh, this isn't for me. It seems a bit too woo-woo or spiritual," or there's whatever discerning quotient they come up with, what do you hope they would still take away after listening to your perspective on this?
I would love them to take away the fact that they are not meant to be like anybody else. We all have this unique place in the world, and the more we fall into just the line of the norm, the more we lose ourselves. And
Mhm.
whether you get your human design or not, just know that it's not business or well, business and life. It's not supposed to be constantly overwhelming, burning out, frustrated. It's not supposed to be
Mhm.
like that. We've normalized it. We've normalized that and asking people, "How are you doing?" "Oh my gosh, I'm just so overwhelmed. I have so much to do." It's not meant to be like that. This journey on this earth is not is not supposed to be like that. So,
I feel like sometimes people use that and just over glamorize it anyway, just to sort of sound, I don't know if it's more important than they actually are, but I feel like people
right,
use that excuse all the time. I'm like, come on, man, you're not that busy. No one's that busy. It's like a priority. It's priority in planning and organizing. But anyway,
right, right.
I understand what you're saying. If people want to connect with you, I know I have your website. It's Steph with just an F, and
Mhm.
that's Steph, Stef Carlstedt.com. Is that the best way to find
Yeah,
you?
.com/HD report is if they want to get their free report and 10-part audio too.
And that's just sort of a basic diagnostic, and then you take that if they were working with you, there's much more hands-on one-on-one work,
There's
right?
much more hands-on, but I did give them a lot for free up front because I don't want people to put this on the shelf. Like I said, I'm here to lead this, and I want people to pick it up and actually listen to the 10-part audio so they can see how this will transform their business before making the assumption that this is too out there. It's just a challenge, and there is a collective awakening happening where people are starting to understand that there's more to life than what we've been told.
Yeah. The unlearning of everything. That's been my last 10 years.
Yeah, I actually have a course called The Unlearning. I don't sell it anymore because I like to do more one-on-one stuff, but yeah.
It's crazy to me. Every
Mhm.
day I uncover something new that I'm like, well, that was a lie. Oh, that was another lie.
Yeah.
What's the point behind all that? Why are we being lied to for so long? I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but real quickly, why is everything that we have been taught not actually true? What's the point behind that?
I think it was here to teach us a lesson for the era we're moving into right now. So, and I love talking about this stuff, so I don't care. But if you think about the education system, the healthcare system, the political system, they're all breaking down. Like they're they can't sustain the way they are. And we're all feeling that. We're feeling this collective shift. And it it's really coming to a head where this new era of the individual is why human design is becoming more well known and why as entrepreneurs, as people, we need to understand ourselves in order to move the collective forward away from this, what we've been blinded by. These groups of people, these big institutions that are lying.
But
And
why are they lying? Why have they been lying for so long? What do you think is the reasoning behind it?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, if you think of I mean, just the education system, right? If you think of when it was created to create workers and not thinkers. And I think that that's a big piece of it where we just it the system just wanted to create workers and not and people that don't think for themselves and don't understand their individuality. And now it's coming to a head where people are figuring that out. That's why things are shaking up. And I think within the next 5 to 10 years, things are going to look completely different. I think college is going to be free or non-existent. And I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of changes. I'm excited for it.
Is there a collective, is there such a thing as a collective human design reading?
No, not that I no, not that I
There's
know of.
no way to aggregate the collective and create some sort of
I mean,
blueprint
well,
for.
there's this new era of the individual, which is I'm talking about, which is why people are coming to human design. So we've known this is going to be happen. If you do the research, we've known for thousands of years this is shifting in 2026 and beyond. Um, there's That's why everything's breaking down, and it's the era of the individual where, in order to move the collective forward, in order to get to where we're meant to go as humanity, we have to come home to ourselves and understand how individual we are and how unique we are. Because what's happened is these big organizations have just been like followers, followers and copycatters. And it's so interesting to feel it and understand it that it can't survive anymore that way.
Hmm. Well, I want a collective reading if we're even going to be around in 5 years.
Yeah, right. I know.
At the pace of things right now, sometimes I look out and I'm like,
I
fuck
can
is going on, man?
I can send you the podcast that I listened to all about it. They're very, very interesting. I We will still be around. I think that this year and next year are going to be very shaky, and then things start to even out. It's the people that stay stuck in the old are essentially just going to stay there. And the people that actually learn, I don't know, come home to themselves and understand what their purposes here are going to be the ones that lift everything else up. But
Well,
right
I don't want to be doomsday or anything, but we do know that the planet has gone through a cyclical reclamation, if you will, at least 6 times that we know of, according to ice core samples, and that it roughly happens every 35,000 years or so. And I understand that we're coming up against the buffer of that 35,000 years. So, and Mother Earth, in her infinitesimal wisdom, just might decide enough is enough, people. Let's
yeah.
just start over. So
I
where
mean,
do we, whether I'm in human design enlightenment or not, like where do I fit into that equation? I'm just curious. I know
yeah.
you can't answer that, but I'm
I
being,
know it's so interesting. I've heard a lot of things are going to be happening this year, and I'm interested to see if they actually all happen. Yeah.
well, I'm going to take this one day at a time, and right now I have to deal with my snowstorm that's supposed to be burying me. But this has been an interesting conversation. I'd like to have a round two with you if you're open to it, because there's a lot more depth to where we could go with this conversation. And I'd like to explore that if you're up for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, cool. Stefanie Carlstedt has been my guest today. We've talked about human design. If you want to connect with her as an entrepreneur, small business owner, this is something that she does full time. This is her bread and butter. Again, you can find her at stefcarlstedt.com. I will put all that data in the show notes. So if you're interested to connect, please reach out to her. Stefanie, closing thoughts?
I think it's time. It's time to come home to yourself and know that you have this unique purpose here and unique way of doing things. And it's not, you're not meant to struggle. So like, yeah, get your design. I mean, my husband was so skeptical. He was like, yeah, right. This sounds like a bunch of, well, I don't know. But when he got it, he's reading the book now and he's like, holy cow, this has helped him in his leadership at work. Um, so it's one of those things where it's like you just got to give it a chance and actually look into it before you understand the reason I'm so obsessed with it.
Well, I mean, that can be said for anything, right?
Mhm.
So,
For
all right.
sure.
Well, I really appreciate your time and coming on the Brand Laboratory. Thank you for being a guest.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for today, folks. Thank you. If this episode hit you, like it, subscribe it, leave a review. It helps a lot more than you think, and it helps the right people find this show and help us keep growing so we can continue to produce amazing episodes. You can find me at thebrandstoryteller.com if you're interested in connecting with me, and everything else about this episode, the guest, the websites, the social media handles, they are all linked below. I'll see you in the next show.